What's going on, everyone? I hope everyone's having a good week. September 25th, Anthony Joshua is going to be fighting Oleksandr Usyk. All right, Joshua is going to be defending 3 of the 4 major titles, the WBA, WBO, IBF titles, against Oleksandr Usyk, who is his mandatory for the WBO strap. All right, so all the titles are going to be on the line, the IBO title as well. And yeah, it's gonna be on DAZN, and I should be here covering the fight live, doing live commentary. So if you like the video, if you're new here, if you like the video, definitely hit the thumbs up. Definitely subscribe to the channel, share the video, and all that good stuff. All right. So let's talk about it, man. Great fight, great matchup. One of AJ's top 3 toughest opponents, in my opinion. Usyk is moving up from the cruiserweight division. All right, he was down while he was down there. He was the undisputed champ, won the World Boxing Super Series tournament. Okay, the Muhammad Ali Trophy as well. Great amateur. One of the best. Had over 350 amateur fights. Very experienced. Southpaw. And went pro and basically shot straight to the top. Right, didn't waste any time. Olympic gold medalist. And so is AJ. AJ is also Olympic gold medalist. Didn't have the amateur background that Oleksandr Usyk did. I don't think a lot of people really respect AJ's win in the Olympics, because a lot of people just feel that AJ lost the fight. And plus it was against a southpaw. So people are gonna bring it up. AJ hasn't had much experience fighting southpaws. All right, he's only faced Charles Martin. And as a professional, he's only faced him, and he was able to stop him in the second round. I wouldn't say that's one of AJ's most toughest opponents, but he was a champion. This is the first title that AJ picked up during his professional run. All right. So listen, we're going to break down the fight. We're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses and stuff that I've observed, doing film study. I've gone over a lot of film study with these two. Just trying to decide and trying to come down with a final, prediction and everything. It's really a lot to unpack. I think this is going to be a highly technical fight. It could be a good fight. It could be an action-packed fight, but it's going to be a highly technical fight. Usyk is a highly technical fighter. Pound for pound, one of the best. You may not consider him that as a heavyweight, which is understandable. He's only had 2 fights there. One against Chaz Witherspoon, one against Derek Chisora. Both went to decisions. No, Chisora went to a decision. Witherspoon was kind of like a tune-up fight for him at heavyweight, his first fight there. And Chisora was definitely a lot more competitive. Chisora was more like a welcoming party for Usyk in the heavyweight division. Chisora was there to just kind of bully him, hit him all kind of places, rough him up a bit. I definitely think Usyk won the fight, but it wasn't a very impressive win. But Chisora and Joshua doesn't really have much in common as far as styles. And AJ is more of a thinker in there. He's a counter puncher. He's more of a technician these days. I know he's a big guy. People used to consider him to be like kind of robotic and stuff like that. I don't think so. I think we're kind of long past those days. All right, if you ever thought that, we're long past that. He's improved dramatically. Even against Charles Martin, who he dominated, who was a southpaw. He's much more advanced since then. Even the Olympics, I saw a few minutes of it not too long ago. Just check out him facing another southpaw. He's much more advanced. But Usyk is the more experienced fighter. As a pro, he's accomplished more. As an amateur, he accomplished way more. They're both Olympic gold medal winners, but there's levels. But Usyk, let's talk about some of his strengths real quick. Like I said, he's one of the highest technical fighters in the game. Great feet, good hand speed, lots of volume. All right, good punch selection, good angles. He's proven to be very durable at cruiserweight. Okay, even a little bit at heavyweight. he's proven to be a pretty durable fighter. He's taken some big shots from guys like Chisora, Tony Bellew, Maris Briedis, Marco Hook, Murat Gassiev. He's proven, even in the amateurs, fighting guys like Joe Joyce and beating him in a like semi-pro kind of fight. And we know that Joe Joyce has had a good run here in the heavyweight division since he turned pro as well. So look, Usyk is the goods, great angles, like I said. Knows how to step around his opponents. He's a smaller guy here. He's 6'3". He's around 215, 217, around there. He's under 220. I'm not the biggest heavyweight, but he's not the smallest neither. He's not short. He's 6'3". AJ 6'6". I'm expecting AJ, he's slimmed down, so I'm expecting him to come around 240. We know at one point he was in the upper 250s. Looked a lot slower, but in his more recent fights, he's been around 240 area. All right. And I'm, based on the pictures, based on the video we've seen, the film we've seen of him prepping for this fight, he looks to be slimmed down, probably because he wants to be quicker. He wants to work on endurance, want to be able to fight for 12 rounds at a high level, because Usyk is a lot. Usyk is a lot. The volume is there, the pressure is there, and he's a rhythm fighter. Okay, as the fight goes on, he starts getting better, all right, and he starts putting more pressure. Don't know if that's going to be the case here, though, at heavyweight, because we haven't really seen it like that. We've seen his fights at heavyweight. Chaz Witherspoon's not someone that I can really compare to AJ. I guess maybe the only similarity is maybe as far as pacing of the fight. I don't think it's going to be it's not going to be a pace like the Chisora fight, who was just going in there, winging big shots, loading up on everything, no regards for defense, So I guess Witherspoon is somewhat you can compare, but if we're going to compare AJ to past opponents, I think we should compare more to Tony Bellew, who did well against Usyk, found a home for that straight right hand, landed some good counters, nice pull counters, was able to time Usyk a lot. Usyk, as I say, was bringing some of his strengths up before, with the angles and the timing and the counter punching. And I think more, when I look at him as a technician, I think he's more well-rounded than Joshua. He has a lot more experience. He's a great athlete. But he has flaws too. I think sometimes his head is kind of dead center at times. So it could be an easy target. All right? I don't think he's a bad defender. But I think a lot of his defense is more in the upper body movement, the shifting, the parrying shots with his gloves, catching shots, and his foot placement, stepping around his opponents and stuff like that. He can definitely slip shots well, but sometimes he walks right into certain shots, especially if you're an orthodox fighter looking to land a straight right hand. Sometimes you can catch him stepping in. Sometimes you can catch him stepping out. And sometimes you can catch him around the guard. If you look around look at the Gassiev fight, you can definitely land some hooks around his guard, So he's a good defender, but he's still open to get hit. All right, he's definitely open to get hit. Joshua, on the other hand, is more of a counter puncher, fights well on his back foot, can mix it up well, can exchange well, big power, has the height, the reach, the size, the power advantage, everything. We know that going into the fight. He's 6'6", like I said, but he's very technical. Okay, this is going to be a technical matchup. Yes, there's a size difference in the two, but how much will AJ impose his size on his opponent? A lot he doesn't really do that. Usually he's more of a technician. Like Canelo, for example, like when he fought Floyd. I remember talking about that fight back then. Canelo was a bigger man. I expected him to use his size against Floyd, but Canelo really actually tried to outbox Floyd. So that's just one comparison. Like to this fight, AJ's a bigger man. And yeah, there may be ties where he is, especially if he has Usyk hurt at some point in this fight, he might try to use his size and try to bully and try to stop Usyk. But he is a guy that's going to try to outbox you, you know. He's going to be making great use of his jab. He's very heavy with the jab. He's going to be probing a lot, feinting a lot. So is Usyk. Usyk has been big on feinting and probing. But Joshua is as well, big on feinting. A lot of feints, fighting a guy like Pulev in his last fight. Pulev, lots of feints, a lot of jab work. But the thing with AJ, you know, I don't think he gets enough credit. I think he's more durable than what people make him out to be. You know, I think people try to say he's chinny because of, you know, not amateur, but sparring sessions, rumors of what happened, who he's faced, getting knocked out, getting stopped in sparring maybe. We seen him get dropped by Klitschko. We seen him get dropped and stopped by Andy Ruiz. I think people fail to. He's been roughed up. He's been, you know, he got hurt by Dillian White. He's been hurt, you know. But he is also fighting elite heavyweights, you know. He was stopped, or he was knocked down by Klitschko, but he also got up. He was burnt out for a couple of rounds, but he was able to come back and finish the fight and stop Klitschko. I don't think he gets enough credit for doing that. Andy Ruiz, yes, he was dropped, he was stopped, but I think he fought a very reckless fight. You know, there was rumors of him being injured and concussed prior to the fight. There were, you know, just the way he fought was reckless. He was fighting in New York, not making any excuses for him. I'm just saying, like, yo, guys get dropped sometimes. Guys get rocked sometimes. It doesn't mean anything. All the top heavyweights has been there. You know, Fury has been down multiple times by multiple fighters. Wilder's been down, you know, multiple fighters. I think people are, you know, they too deep into it. Joshua has a better chin than people give him credit for. Povetkin was able to, you know, at point I felt like Povetkin was winning earlier in the fight. He was able to get inside, close a gap on AJ, land good, clean combinations. AJ's nose was broken, bloodied up face, and he was able to continue without getting dropped or badly hurt, and able to win the fight by stoppage. So I just don't think he gets enough credit for that. I think he also doesn't get credit enough for his improved speed, his footwork. I think he moves very well now on the back foot, like I said, laterally. I think he's still pretty stationary when it comes to punching, though. You know, he doesn't punch on the move. I think Usyk is better at doing that. I think Usyk is better at landing shots around the guard and stepping around there his opponent. He's definitely superior as far as footwork. But AJ is great at maintaining engaging distance and keeping distant, you know, when he wants to. All right, we seen in the Povetkin fight, made adjustments there, fought out of a high guard early, started then at some point, kept that lead hand down, started shooting jabs from the hip, and was able to maintain space between him and Povetkin at some point. It felt like when you watch that fight, go back and watch it, he was kind of learning on the job. I know he was preparing for the fight, and both of these guys are great at preparation leading to a fight. But you saw the adjustments in that fight as the fight continued, you know. And there was a point where Povetkin could easily get underneath Joshua and, you know, land those combinations. But there was a point where Joshua, it was harder to get to him. It was harder to find him. Joshua started utilizing his some head control with that lead hand and just sniping Povetkin from the outsides with right hands. He had to get low, and he was starting to become more accurate. Usyk is very good at closing the gap and stepping around his opponents and throwing combinations and stuff. But, you know, he doesn't get low like Povetkin. You know, he's not as short as Povetkin. Usyk is tall. He's still tall. He's not taller than AJ. He's shorter than AJ, but he's still tall. You know, he doesn't get as low as Povetkin. Povetkin's better at doing that. So there's going to be different dangers here. One thing, like I said, Povetkin's strengths are later in the fight. Once the rhythm is going and once he keeps going, he usually outworks his opponents. He has great endurance. You know, fights long periods, like the Breeders fight. high level fight from round 1 all the way to round 12. Had a fight, continue maintaining at a high level. All right. You also had the fight between Usyk and what's his name? The bounty hunter, Michael Hunter. All right, Michael Hunter, high level fight. All right, two guys that are very, very that great, have great endurance, could fight at high levels late, and Usyk was get the better of him. Hunter, fortunately, he usually punches himself out a bit, but Usyk could keep fighting at high level, mixes up his punches well. He throws a lot of light punches, but he has sneaky power. All right, he throws those sneaky, heavy shots in between his punches, similar to Lomachenko. We all know they're in the same camp. They're both Ukrainian. So you got to look out for that. So AJ, this is probably part of the reason of the game plan of him slimming down and preparing to fight a long fight. I think AJ is I'm expecting him to mix it up a little bit. I think there's going to be points where he's going to stay on the outside. He's going to work his jab up top to the body. Try to catch Usyk coming in with right hands. We're going to see check left hooks, lead left hooks, followed by, combinations. But there's going to be points where he's going to try to ambush Usyk, step in, throw combinations, do some work on the inside, oppose his size on Usyk. So I'm expecting a little bit of both. I noticed that in the Pulev fight, there was points where he would hurt Pulev, then he would step in, and then he would start to engage and go and throw some combinations for long periods of time. And I remember in the Klitschko fight where he got burnt out, he was a lot heavier. He got burnt out. He punched himself out. Where in the Pulev fight, it seemed like the energy was still on point in the following rounds. He took periods off here and there, but his endurance is much better. All right, and I think people need to leave that alone. There was times where he looked slower. The Collins tackling fight, the Klitschko fight, but I think he's improved dramatically on that. All right, and this is not Andy Ruiz. I think Andy was a little bit more dangerous when it came to the exchanges on the inside. Usyk, yes, he is dangerous as too. You can't just be reckless, but at the same time, Andy, short arms, big hooker on the inside, bigger puncher. That's his game. He's shorter than everybody. He has to get on the inside. That's his game. I think that was more dangerous for Joshua when it came to that. All right. But these are key things you got to look at. Usyk is definitely different from what AJ has faced. We have to acknowledge that. The only other southpaw is Charles Martin, who was not on Usyk's level. Was very easy to target. All right. AJ caught him with a couple big right hands coming in and was able to drop him twice, and that fight was stopped. Those same right hands, Bellew was able to land on Usyk. So if you learn to look at flaws of Usyk, you want to look at the Bellew fight. You want to look at the Garcia fight, who Usyk, I think, clearly beat him, nearly shut him out. But Garcia was able to land some big power shots around his guard. And that's something that AJ can do as well. Usyk, great defense overall, but sometimes his head is kind of dead on a line at times, all right? Yes, he uses his feet to move. He uses his upper body to move, shift side to side. But a lot of times when he's throwing punches or when he's entering, exiting, out of position, out of range, his head is still, dead center for the most part. And AJ as well, AJ, but I think AJ's improved a little bit. Sometimes AJ still kind of clams up, especially when he's getting ambushed. He clams up and he like backs up a little bit and he loses his footing a little bit. And if Usyk is able to get in and step around him while throwing those combinations, he can definitely catch AJ and hurt him, possibly hurt him. One of my favorite combos Usyk likes to do is he likes to step around to this right over the jab, counter with a right hand, all right, which is his power hand. Even though he's a southpaw, his right hand is his power hand, and then follow it up with a straight left while he's on the inside. And that's a shot that, that'll be the shot that'll do it. We've seen it with Bellew towards the end when he stopped Bellew and knocked him out. So Usyk, AJ has a lot to worry about. Endurance, he has to worry about the combinations of Usyk, his footwork, his timing, and his sneakiness. You got to definitely watch out for him. But overall, I think it's an uphill battle for Usyk. Even though I think overall skill set, Usyk is probably greater and he's definitely more experienced, I don't think the gap is wide. You know, I think with AJ's experience as a professional heavyweight, the people he's faced up to this point, his improvements, the size advantage, the power advantage, the combinations, and just his timing and everything, his counterpunching. I think he's gonna hurt Usyk, you know. I think, or if not hurt Usyk, he's gonna land something that's gonna make Usyk not really want to engage, and it'll be an easier fight for AJ if he is to just maintain that outside, you know, that space and stay on the outside. It'll be very easier for him. You know, Usyk has to do more work to get to AJ, you know, and I know he's done it as a cruiser, but here at heavyweight, totally different ball game. All right, so can't wait to see the fight. I think AJ is gonna win this one by a decision. You know, I think I'm curious to see what AJ is gonna do as far as what his approach is going to be. Is he gonna be aggressive or is he gonna stay and fight on the back foot? I personally think he's gonna do a little bit of both, but I think if AJ really wants to impress the boxing fans and the doubters, I think he would probably want to be more aggressive, go for the knockout, make a statement, you know. And I think that's what he should do, but I don't know if he can do it. I think he should play it safe early, feel Usyk out, see what you're willing to deal with, and then, you know, make the adjustments accordingly, you know. Sorry for all the background noise. It's like ambulance season right now. But all right, but I have AJ winning by decision, man. I think it should be a really good fight though. But I have AJ winning by decision. I can see him stopping Usyk. And I can see Usyk, listen, it's not gonna be any surprise if Usyk is able to beat AJ or even hurt AJ. You know, but I think at this point, I remember having conversations about this fight 3-4 years back. There was a point where I would have thought that if Usyk moved up, that he would possibly beat AJ, you know. But AJ, with all his experience and these fights that he's had over the years, it just made him a better fighter. And plus, he's worked on his endurance. He's worked on his defense. He's worked on his footwork. He's just a much better fighter now. And I think it's just going to be too much for Usyk. I don't think Usyk is a rhythm fighter, and I just don't think he's ever going to quite catch that rhythm that he's going to need to win this fight. All right, I just see too many flaws, and I think AJ, with his size and power, is going to be able to be comfortable. All right, but I could also see it being close and it being a controversial decision. All right, well, that's a whole nother story. But anyway, I have AJ. But it should be a good fight. I'll be here to cover it. Again, make sure you share the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next one.